York Comic Con. I am Megan Vick, West Coast editor at TV Guide, and I am so excited to be hanging out with the cast and executive producers of The Good Doctor. We have so much to go through, breaking down that season 3 finale, and of course teasing what's coming up for season 4. So let's get into it. First off, we have executive producer David Shore, executive producer Daniel Day Kim, executive producer and series star Freddie Highmore, series star Antonia Thomas, series star Christina Chang, Hill Harper, William Lee, Fiona Gubelman, and Paige Spara. I want to start off because I feel like The Good Doctor has officially become such a beloved show. So Daniel, I want to go to you. You helped bring the show over from Korea. Were you expecting it to become the hit that it has become today?
Well, I don't think in this business you can expect anything to become a hit, but I certainly hope so. The original series aired in 2013 in Korea, and when I saw it, I really thought that it had some potential to cross over not just to America, but around the world. In fact, the original format now has been licensed in several other countries and is a hit in those countries as well. So there's something to this idea, there was something to the concept, and we were just very lucky to be able to bring someone like David Shore aboard who could bring it to life. And nothing works without a great writer and without a great team. So it's I think just the concept is just the first step. The execution is the important one.
It's been it's been several months since we've checked in with these doctors. So I want to go back and revisit this extremely heartbreaking season 3 finale.
You saved me. I was just in the right place at the right time. That was all you. You're gonna be okay, Claire. There is something I need to tell you. Me too. I go first. You are a terrible bowler. Maybe the worst I've ever seen. And I wanted to tell you that I hate your tattoo. Way too much antler. I love you. I love you too.
When I told my mom that I was going to be moderating this panel, the first thing that she wanted to know was, David, why did you kill Melendez? And do you think that you owe us an apology for hurting us the way that you did?
I might. Is there an answer that would make her happy? That is the question I get more.
He's not actually dead. Maybe the only thing that'll make her happy.
Look, it's a show about hope, but eventually we lose everything. We lost him maybe sooner than any of us would have liked. It's a show about heartbreak and it's a show about hope, and I have no reason that will make people happy. The only thing I can say is, if people had been happy with the decision, then it would have been a mistake. I would have done so many more wrong things to put us in that situation. I miss Nick too. I miss Dr. Melendez too. We try and follow the stories where they go, and sometimes that's upsetting.
For Antonia and Christina, you guys had very tearful goodbyes with Melendez. How is his death affecting your characters in particular as we move into season 4, and how big of a deal was it for them?
Well, I think it's extremely upsetting for both of them, if I can say that. They loved him and were loved by him, you know, in different ways and in similar ways. And it greatly, I mean, for Dr. Lim, for Christina, I miss Nick, but also for Dr. Lim, it has impacted her. You know, we're dealing with COVID. So I think because she is in the position that she's in, being the chief of surgery, she doesn't really get into how she feels about that, at least not straight away. So it greatly impacts her, but she sort of keeps that hidden and keeps that close to her chest, you know, or her vest, I mean.
Yeah, and I think from Claire's perspective, it's a very painful one because it was something, you know, where she just was realizing her feelings as he died, and that was a terribly sad and difficult thing to come to terms with. It was all sort of a little bit too late, and I think that we do see through her dealing with COVID, her also trying to wrestle with the loss of Melendez, and I think that that's something that will kind of probably continue. And I think what's nice also is the connection between Claire, Dr. Brown and Dr. Lim through their sort of mutual loss and how they come together. And we'll be seeing more of that.
Yes, that too.
For everyone else, not everyone had a chance to find out that he had died in the finale due to the fact there was an earthquake and a lot of other things going on. Sort of how is it affecting everyone else to have this strong presence of the team no longer there?
It's a loss that will be felt across the entire hospital. I guess David was speaking about hope, and so I'd like to stay hopeful that you know, even though Dr. Melendez is no longer with us on the show, he, you know, will still be very much a part of it. His presence will still be felt, and maybe we'll get to see him again at some point. You never know.
Well, it wasn't all bad news. In the finale, we did finally see Shawn and Leah get together. So I'm going to start with you, Paige. Did you ever expect that this was finally going to happen for them?
I hoped it would happen for them because I really love Leah and Shawn's dynamic as a couple, and I think so many people can learn from them and see themselves in Shawn and Leah. So yeah, when I did read the last 2 episodes, I was really pleased that we finally get to see them come together. Mm-hmm.
And Freddie, for Shawn, how much does this mean to him that finally Leah's actually going to give him the chance that he's rightfully worked for this entire time?
Yes, rightfully worked for. Sometimes it doesn't work out like that, though, always, does it? Even if you rightfully deserve to be with someone, somehow the other person just doesn't see it that way. But I think, as you say, it definitely was certainly a big quest for him. And so, yeah, we start season 4 with very much the two of them in that relationship, which will bring its own struggles, especially during a time, you know, such as the ones that we're living in now with the virus and distancing, and it will bring a whole new set of complications to their relationship. But it'll be interesting to see how that continues to evolve in a way that I think the show has always been about, from Shawn's point of view, celebrating those little moments in life and the small joys and small moments of connection that I think in these times are ever more important to recognize and be grateful for and be able to celebrate.
Absolutely. Well, we actually have a clip from the finale so we can relive that sort of epic them getting together and get everybody on a hopeful note as we continue through this.
I made a promise to Vera. I don't know what that was. It could be a practice kiss, or a pity kiss, or a goodbye kiss.
That was. And I'm such a stupid idiot for not seeing it. But I love you with all my heart, Kiss. And this is another.
Vera didn't die, so the promise doesn't count.
You make me more, Shawn.
It was great.
I guess I'd just deflect to David and be like, what wonderful directing, you know?
Well, David, speaking of that, after 3 seasons, what made this the right time to actually put them together and let them see what a relationship between the two of them is like?
First of all, what I loved about that moment and that final line is we've kind of come full circle from the beginning. That doesn't mean the circle is complete. That doesn't mean we're done telling stories. But one of my favorite moments in the pilot was Dr. Glassman saying, if we hire Dr. Murphy, it makes us better.
Are you going to sit here and tell us that there were no other equally qualified young surgeons? Surgeons without this one's issues?
No, which is why, exactly why we should hire Shawn. We should hire him because he is qualified and because he is different. How long ago was it that we wouldn't hire black doctors in this hospital? How long ago was it that we wouldn't hire female doctors at this hospital?
So you're comparing being African American or a woman with being autistic. Please, go on.
Okay. The rationalization is exactly the same. Words like temperament and, oh no, oh, how are the patients going to react? Aren't we judged by how we treat people? I don't mean as doctors, I mean as people. Especially those who don't have the same advantages that we have. We hire Shawn and we give hope to those people with limitations, that those limitations are not what they think they are, that they do have a shot. We hire Shawn and we make this hospital better for it. We hire Shawn and we are better people for it.
We'd be better people, spending a lot more on malpractice insurance.
And I think there are people in this world that just by interacting with them make you more, make you better. And I think Dr. Murphy is that for Leah, and Dr. Murphy is that for me, and I am grateful for that. I think that is one of the reasons the show has resonated. It's not a show about Dr. Murphy learning how to navigate the world. It's a show about us collectively, the characters on the show, and us watching, learning from Dr. Murphy. As to your specific question, why was this the right time? I get those questions and I don't know. I mean, it felt right. It felt, we just want to keep exploring Shawn in different situations. In the first season, it was Shawn as a doctor. In the second season, it's always been Shawn as a doctor to some extent. The second season, it was Shawn as a friend. And in the third season, it was Shawn kind of as an adolescent, Shawn growing up, Shawn learning to date, Shawn learning about the beginning of relationships. And we felt this was the time for Shawn to be in a relationship and learn what it's like to love and the challenges of love. And and for him to bring his unique perspective to that as he's brought to everything else.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of people getting better, I want to switch over. Fiona, our girl Morgan, decided to jump into this surgery in the season 3 finale, and there's gonna be some repercussions from it, but I feel like it really demonstrated sort of how much this job means to Morgan. So are you sort of hoping that the people who maybe have a hate relationship with her are finally on your team?
I don't know about that. I mean, it's funny, when I first started out and people hated me, I would personally just get so upset. But then I realized that the more people hated me, the more I was doing my job. And so, or the better I was doing my job. I like that people are cheering for her in the sense that they are understanding her as a whole person and maybe not judging her as harshly. But I don't think we're going to lose all the things that make Morgan Morgan.
How worried about her surgical career should we be at this point?
Very worried. I would say worried.
And Hill, you were there when Morgan sort of made the decision, and it sort of brought Andrews around to her in a certain way. Can you talk about sort of what that moment meant for them and their relationship going forward?
Sure. I think that Dr. Andrews' character and Morgan's character are very similar. I think that and it's not about being villains, it's about being ambitious and really believing that you're the best for the job, the best for whatever position, and being willing to compete. And obviously in real life, we see people who act that way. And what's nice about the show, I think it's wonderful, is that the allowance of characters to evolve and learn. I wish we actually saw more evolution of that type of personality in real life. And we see people evolve who have that type of personality trait. And so I think it's wonderful. It has the potential to become a mentor-mentee relationship. They have a potential to learn from each other. And as David said, there's so much resonance about love and loss in the show, and that balance between hope and loss, and this is yet another reflection. So I think that if you really unpack the brilliance of it, is that each character has some type of touch with throughout that season with hope, love of something, and then losing it, right? Dr. Andrews lost his job that he had coveted, and Morgan lost her hands, and everybody lost. We lost a major character, but then we also got to love things in a different way and embrace them and learn and grow. So I think that there's a lot of exciting things to come.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of which, I want to dive into, you guys have started filming season 4. We are ready to see it come November 2nd. And we're starting off battling a pandemic, which is something everybody is facing right now. David, I want to start with you. Of why did it feel absolutely necessary to start the season with this and have the Good Doctor tackle the pandemic?
Because it's our world. It would have been so false, I believe, to not deal with it. We discussed it briefly. This is not something happening in our world. This is what has happened to our world. It has taken over every aspect of our lives for an unbelievable amount of time. And I'm not a doctor. If I was a doctor, it just would be and not just doctors, the entire medical profession, and that's what we're dealing with here. We needed to. The world has, hopefully it'll go back to normal, what we viewed as normal. But it just would have been dishonest to not deal with this story. And having said that, it's an incredible story. Dramatically, we're a show about regular people who do heroic things. And this is an opportunity we have seen it time and time again throughout our world over the last 6 months, regular people rising or failing to rise to the occasion and dealing with the frustrations and dealing with the setbacks and the impact it takes on these human beings is incredibly dramatic. And so we wanted to dramatize it.
And for Daniel, you've obviously had a very personal story within this pandemic in real life. What is it like executive producing a show that is now tackling it in a dramatic sense?
Well, I think it's a really great opportunity, as David was saying, to capture something that is going on simultaneously in our culture. You know, to be in a doctor show in 2020 and have the worst pandemic in a century, hitting us, it only seems right that we would address it in some way. And so, I think it's dead on that David decided to approach it. And if you look at the marketing for season 4, we're addressing it there too. And I think everyone is looking at the healthcare professionals that are out there, our frontline workers, and seeing them in a whole new light. And I think that's something that can only help our show, because I think that's in line with how we see our cast, as heroes.
And can I just say, the last scene we shot Friday night was Will's character being a superstar hero. And I think all those frontline workers are heroes. And I think that his character in the particular scene, the last moment of that scene, the level of commitment that his character makes is incredible. It's a wonderful scene that he does that we did on Friday.
That's an amazing segue, because Will, I want to talk about, at the end of season 3, Park decided he wanted to move to Phoenix to be with his family. How is that complicated now that we're facing a global pandemic?
I mean, definitely complicates things, because I think he has to, in the season opener, I mean, he has to make a decision. And it's probably a decision that a lot of people on the front lines make is, do you keep going into helping patients in an emergency room setting and then knowing you have to go home and take off all your clothes, jump in the shower, pray you don't give it to your own family? And I think it's a situation that he's going to come face to face with come season 4.
And Freddie, one of Shawn's greatest strengths is that he's a great diagnostician. And he's really great at finding symptoms and using medical journals to figure out what's going on. This is a disease that has such a wide array of symptoms, and there aren't the medical journals are being written on the go. So sort of how is this challenging Shawn in a way that we haven't seen before?
If only Shawn could genuinely solve this problem. It certainly is challenging in a whole new way. And I think he's always been very good at calling on his impressive memory. And I think in this moment, it's particularly tricky when things are changing constantly and every minute, and with new information that he's having to deal with and try and process, and making those decisions in a way that he is very unaccustomed to doing. And I think also is perhaps one of his weaknesses and something that he has struggled with. So it's certainly interesting to see how he's dealing with it. And just to touch as well on what everyone was saying this season, and especially towards the beginning in these first 2 episodes, it feels like our way of paying tribute really to the real medical professionals who are putting themselves out there, saving people's lives every day. And I think we'd be doing a disservice to them to not want to try and reflect the reality that they're dealing with and have been dealing with for so many months. And I think we're all, in a time when there is so little that lots of people seem able to agree on. I think one thing that we can agree on is that we're incredibly thankful for everything that they do and have been doing. So it's an honor really to get to play a doctor, and that's what we've all realized more and more.
Christina, for Lim, how is she dealing with overseeing these residents in an unprecedented health crisis? She doesn't know the answer ahead of time, so she's also got to oversee them doing it while she's figuring out at the same time.
She's sort of flying by the seat of her pants and doing what I imagine, just a few short months ago, lots of people that worked in, her position were doing, which is scrambling to find, sort of do we have enough COVID test kits? Do we have this? Do we have enough medications? And setting up the hospital in a way that's safe as can be for all of her residents and for herself, the staff, period. I mean, just sort of flying by this, taking it day by day. And, every day we get new information and they just have to adjust and accordingly.
The nervousness I think we had as a cast coming to work in this environment was, we talked a lot, and to actually be on the ground and see what the Good Doctor has done in terms of protocols is unbelievable. I mean, it's just, I feel more safe going to work than anywhere
outside of work
in the real world. And, it goes to show how much time that the show has put into making sure everyone's safe. And in doing that, it made me appreciate what doctors must go through, because like Freddie said, you put on a mask and you work for 12 hours a day, but you could run out to your trailer, you could run out and take off your mask. And doing a scene I did a scene the other day where we're double masked. We had a surgical mask on top of an N95. And it was, for me, it was, tough to do 6 hours just in a scene with that. And I can't imagine someone having to save someone's life for a 16-hour shift or a 24-hour shift living in that mask. I mean, it's so I'm taking my hat off to the medical professionals who have to do that, and the real worries that come with that, but also to the show, like setting an example of how you get back to work. And I feel like so far it's second to none. It's really, it feels like a safe place to be.
On that note, David, we're starting with a 2-part premiere that is getting us into the virus and dealing with the pandemic, but sort of how does COVID-19 affect the rest of the season, and how much of a player is it as we go forward, knowing that we don't have a vaccine in the real world?
On the one hand, as I said before, we need to deal with it. It needs to be out there. We wanted to pay tribute to the frontline workers. We wanted to deal with the real stories in this world and do it in an honest way, but an entertaining way, and touch on the emotions that we're all feeling, but the victories and the losses. But we've been living with this so much for the last 6 months. I do think we have a responsibility as entertainers to provide a little bit of an escape. It is not going to be, the rest of the season will not be about COVID. It will be returning to the stories that we tell. The stories of life and the stories of ethical choices and these characters in difficult life and death situations and how it personally impacts them. All those stories, the regular stories that everybody's always, that the show is dealing with, has always dealt with, we will deal with again. And we're not going to be dishonest about it, but hopefully we'll be basically in a post-COVID world. There's going to be an awareness of it, but those are not the stories we're going to tell.
Awesome. Well, I want to ask everybody what they are most excited to explore in season 4, and if you're not sure that, or what you're hoping to explore, if you're not sure that you're going to explore it yet.
I'll take notes during this.
Great. I'll start with the order that everybody is on my screen, so that way we can keep it orderly. And so, David, I will start with you. What are you excited to explore in season 4 this year?
It's a number of things that we've touched on. Shawn in a relationship. Lim and Claire, that friendship, I think, is something that that's going to be very interesting. All of our people, Claire and Park and Shawn, have risen up and proven themselves to be good residents. We're going to throw them into a supervisory capacity, and we're going to bring in new characters to challenge them in that regard. And how they rise and fall in that regard, I think, is going to be really interesting. Just presenting people with new challenges. Andrews is going to have a particular relationship with one of them that I'm not going to go into, and I want to explore that. Those are the broad outlines of where I want to go.
Christina, what about you?
Also interested in the Lim-Claire relationship or friendship, sort of going deeper. They sort of started as the mentor-mentee, and now they're obviously developing a friendship. Interested to see how Lim will handle these new people that come in, and also maybe see what happens post. I really don't know, but to see how she handles if there's anything post Melendez that crops up. And
there will be.
There you go.
Freddie, what are you most excited to explore with Shawn?
You know, we've slightly hinted at it during this conversation so far, but new cast members that will be joining us at some point, I think, will mean that the residents who up until now have been within that doctor world at the bottom of it in terms of responsibilities and in terms of hierarchy, and so I'm excited to examine Shawn trying to be a boss and what he does with responsibility and how he tries to teach people and how he's trying to help others develop. I think he's in some ways done it subconsciously so far in terms of the way that he thinks differently and how that informs others. But how will he go about doing that in a conscious way? And not just in terms of bringing medical insight and teaching in that way, but the more practical matters and that patient-doctor relationship. How will he try and encourage others for good or for worse?
Will, what are you most excited to explore with Park this season?
I mean, I think there were slivers of it in the previous seasons because he's kind of a closed-off character. You don't really see him open up until the end of last season about his son and about his personal relationships. So I think the thing that I'm most excited about, so hopefully Dave is taking notes, is maybe a little bromance with Freddie, and kind of he has this relationship with Leah, and I think it'd be nice to take a dude out and show him what a dude is, have a couple of beers, hopefully tell him what to say to the ladies, do some dude stuff, make him kind of feel that bromance. How about that?
Yes. David actually wrote something down there, so
I did write something down. One of the other things that we are going to do this year is explore Park and Morgan a little more and have some fun with that. I thought there was a great energy and a great dynamic to the two of them last year, so we're going to throw them together and have them clash and have them have some fun with each other as well this year. And so far in writing it, it's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Well, Fiona, what are you most excited to explore in season 4?
Well, we talk so much about this show being about hope. And I think that the one thing that 2020 has really showed us is there's a lot of loss, and we've all been dealing with it in our own ways, in our own lives. And, at the end of season 3, Morgan suffers a big loss. And I think that hope and purpose are really what help us get through these times. Without that, it's hard. So with Morgan, I feel like she's such a great character to really explore what it's like when you lose your purpose and when you lose the thing that was most valuable to you, and how you pick yourself up and move forward and rebuild a future and rebuild you have to rebuild everything you thought. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with in different ways, and just getting to go on that journey with her and her missteps and her mistakes, but also her growth and all the things that she finds along that. So I think it's really cool to get to explore that. And then I want more Bresnik. It's always fun working with Antonia. I love the Claire Morgan relationship and dynamic, and I'm excited about the Park stuff. I mean, there was so much fun stuff that we got to do last season, and I'm excited to see what else is coming. So that's a little sneak I just got. Thank you.
Well, Antonia, Claire's obviously not going to be starting in the best of places this season, but what are you hoping for her in season 4?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think last season was a heavy one for Claire. She was on a bit of an emotional roller coaster in terms of loss. She had a lot of loss. And yes, starting this new season, we'll be dealing with more of it. But I think it will be really fun to see how she manages to transcend that and grow and kind of move through the loss, and hopefully it will make her stronger. And I too am really excited to see the relationship that will grow between Claire and Lim. I think, where we started off all the way back in season 1, there was, they've had such an interesting journey. One of, it sort of started off with a bit of sort of animosity, and grew into a relationship of just great respect. And it will be hopefully nice to see that respect can kind of then move into a friendship of sorts. I don't know. I'm really excited to see what David's got in store there. And also, part of Claire's journey has been being able to assert herself and step into her shoes and have confidence in her ability. And I think it will be really interesting to see how she does that now in a kind of a more sort of a supervisor role with the new residents, and how she kind of asserts her authority and is, whether she gets the balance right and all those sorts of things. So yeah, hopefully it will be a positive year for Claire, a positive season for Claire, and lots of exciting things. Yeah, really, really looking forward to it.
Paige, what can you tell us about Leah's journey in season 4?
I think I'm most excited about obviously exploring a relationship between Leah and Shawn, and what that's going to look like, and how they're going to help each other, because they have so much to teach one another when it comes to their very own expectations they have for themselves and what they want in a romantic partner. And I find that we're gonna really see them kind of tackle that, and they're together and kind of create their own path, and whatever that may look like. And and also be there for him in this new position as a boss to these new cast members. And I think it's going to be really funny and interesting to see Leah's point of view and what a boss should do and look like, in comparison to what Shawn may think a boss should be and look like. And I think that's going to be a really fun kind of exploration when it comes to both of their point of views with that, and then also her relationship to the newbies, because I'm sure Leah probably has a lot of opinions on how she feels that she can help them out. So I really think that's going to be hilarious, and also hopefully explore Leah's point of view too, and where she finds herself with certain things in this new relationship. So,
Hill, what can we expect from Andrews this season as he's dealing with all of this stuff going on?
Well, I'm excited about the new season. I'm just digesting what David's little tease was, because I didn't know anything about that. So, let me just say this fundamentally. Number one, I think Andrews is a significantly better mentor to Shawn than Glassman. You don't want Shawn to end up growing up to be a cynical old man. So, and actually from last season, one of my favorite scenes was a lovely scene with Shawn where he asked Andrews for some advice about love and relationships. And I thought it was a very simple, beautiful, really lovely, just really nice scene. And I really enjoyed that. But then with David's tease, I would say, one thing I will say for sure that without question is the people on this call, or these people on the Zoom, are some of the finest people I know. And I love them and I appreciate them, and they're wonderful. I'll tell you this, since David and Daniel chose these people, it gives me high level of confidence that these people that are coming in are going to be equally wonderful. And so I'm excited to work with them, and that'll be fun and wonderful. So I think it's going to be a really wonderful year, and I'm definitely excited.
Well, guys, I want to say thank you to all of you for hanging out with me today. And I want to make sure everybody tunes in Monday, November 2nd at 9 Central on ABC, because it's going to be an amazing season of The Good Doctor. And in case you're not already putting that in your calendar, we have a clip to tease what's coming. So again, thanks you guys, and enjoy. Bye.
Later. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I want to be known as a good doctor, not a good autistic doctor.
Very few things that are worthwhile in life come without a cost, Shawn. He sees things we can't even begin to understand, and that's extraordinary.
What did you think this job was?
To save people's lives.